Have you ever heard the expression, you need to get your house in order? It's really stern. Sorry, I'm not commanding you to do so, but if you've ever heard that expression and it relating to more than your physical household, but your life, then they're probably talking about your fourth house, unknowingly, because that's kind of a dickish expression, to be honest, if anyone says that to you. Anyway, this video is about the fourth house in astrology, and often I feel like the fourth house is simplified or overlooked or only seen as being one thing, your home, when it's really so much more. The angular houses are the tenets of our life and our existence. You know, the first house being who we are, the fourth house where we live, seventh house who we're with, tenth house what we do, and what we leave behind in this world. So the fourth house is so much more than your physical home. It's your emotional foundation. And yes, it is your physical home. And often, because the fourth house rules who we are in private, our private selves, the home is, of course, attached to that. But it's so much more. And I've learned this through just my own self-discovery and through probably having my son in the fourth house as a Cancer, definitely. It has required a lot of exploration of this place. And I want you to look at your fourth house because it's where you can truly understand who you are on a level that is without influence of the outside world. To know who and what your soul is made of without your job identity, your job title, who you're with, how you're perceived, your social media status, any of that stuff. It's really who you are on a soul level. And when you understand your fourth house, you understand the foundation of who you are. And it's where true contentment is found. I'm talking like the type of contentment where you have a standstill freeze moment in your life and you look around and you realize life is perfect as is, I am perfect as is, and it's just a beautiful moment of existence and knowing that you are exactly who you're meant to be for this lifetime and for this given designated time. Oftentimes, I think when we're not feeling great about ourselves, like when we don't have our well, which the fourth house is really like this reservoir, this well, and it's filled with our life force. And the next house, the fifth house, is able to tap into that life force and share it with the world. Fills its own heart up with it, which is the fifth house, and then it can share it with the world. But if our well is empty, then what we're sharing is lacking in substance, or is really, we have nothing to share, rather. When you look at where your fourth house is in your chart, you can kind of see where you feel most at home with yourself. And again, home being the reference word, and where you are most likely to not want to leave. The fourth house is this private place where sometimes we can feel safest expressing ourselves. We can feel that we can be truly who we are without the voice or the criticism of the outside world saying you can't be this way or you can't do it like that. And so it's hard to leave that space. You know, we have to leave the fourth house to ultimately get to the 10th house, because we have to take all these amazing things we've cultivated and nurtured, and that's where nurturing comes into the fourth house. It's what you have. It doesn't mean necessarily, you know, giving yourself a bunch of food or taking care of children. It really is what you have given your time and love and energy to, what you've given your emotional energy to, what you've energetically committed to, and what you built. Like it's you know, a lot of like artistic projects are nurtured in the fourth house, and then it's knowing when it's time to take it to the 10th house for the world to see, you know, for it to like live out in the world. And it can be a scary journey. You know, it's why like I part of like why I created Little Crab Finds a Friend and had it start at the fourth house, which in the zodiac wheel is the very bottom. And it's hard to venture out from the Shire. The fourth house really is like, for you Tolkien people, like a Shire. It's like, why leave the Shire? It has everything you need. And you have to leave it because you have magic in there that you need to share with the rest of the world. And now the 10th house while it's busy like achieving and building mountains, it has to come home. It has to go back to a place. With like the learning lessons of the 4th and 10th house axis, because they're on a axis with each other, is learning that the 4th house, like, you can make the world your home. You can go out into the world and still have that sense of security. And for the 10th house, just because you go home, just because you go to a deep place inside yourself and retreat from the world, does not mean that you are not successful and that you are not achieving. It just means that you do have to go home, and the person at home has to go out. And so look at your 4th house whenever you really want to get a sense of who you are on a soul level, who you are when no one's looking. It's the foundation. And so often it's just, I feel, not overlooked but oversimplified as to being like, this is your house. And it's not, sorry I'm going on like this, but like, modern astrology, it denotes 4th house with being, or correlates 4th house with being like your home, and not necessarily like Vedic astrology, it's not your family. And 3rd house would be people like your siblings you live with. So it's not that. It's not the people that are in the home with you. It really is who you are in your most private quarters. And it's getting good with your 4th house sets up the next 3 houses and all of the houses to be successful. You can't shine your heart in the 5th house. You can't share your creative gifts to the world if you are not good with yourself first. And if you don't know at your soul level who you are, like, and accept that fully, then everything else can ring hollow. And all the houses build on each other. What you take from the 3rd house, that knowledge and that ability to communicate, is brought into the 4th house, so you can talk to yourself, so you can communicate within, so you can communicate to understand the deepest essence of who you really are, and where is your emotional foundation, how sturdy is it, and how safe do you feel within yourself. That is another component. It's like, how safe do you feel inside of yourself, and your immediate quarters, your physical quarters, of course, too. So that is the 4th house. I again implore you to look at where the 4th house is in your chart. I do astrology readings. You can go to my link in bio or my website, Little Crab Astrology, and I would be happy to look at where your 4th house is and the angles that other planets are making to that house. It really speaks a lot to how comfortable you feel alone and at home, and how ready you are to share what you've been cultivating and nurturing within in your own shell and bring that out to the world. Got really excited there in that last word, or those last words. Anyway, thank you guys. I will talk to you soon.